Yeah.
Matt Geis
Mm.
makes his return to. So, if there was ever any thought, God, I think the last time we streamed, we were doing the controversial video with my church. So, I don't know when I say any rumor started because I don't think they did because I'm not that important. But if I were to say rumor started, it would be that Matt didn't get fired from streaming with me just because we did the controversial video the last time he was on. We're still friends. He's still willing to stream, and we're grateful for that. So anyway, Matt, how you doing on your side, brother?
I'm doing absolutely amazing, man. You make me want to do some push-ups, go take over a nation, and do some imperialism with that kind of music, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been about a month and a half since we've been on stream together. I know we kind of redid it. I know we were doing it, here at my place for the first few times, and then appreciate you jumping back on, the virtual setting. So I'm looking forward to it. So we'll jump right into our topics today. So you have not been keeping up with the NCAA. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, man. I've been taking myself out of a lot of controversial topics to keep my own inner peace, So you can disturb it tonight for this one night.
Okay, so for people who don't know, then, and you included, so Caitlin Clark has won the awards for the Players of the Year. Let me actually look up the number of awards that Caitlin Clark has won. Player of the Year awards 2023. Let's see. So when she won the John Wooten Award presented by Wendy's, so she won that award, and that was just announced recently. But I wanted to show you the video from ESPN, assuming they still have it up, of her accepting the award or her being told about the award, and the way the dude goes about asking her questions. Because really, what it comes off as is that the guy comes across. Oh no, actually, I don't want to even plant any seeds. I just. So did you hear about so you don't know about the racial tension with Angel Reese's gesture in the game versus Caitlin Clark's gesture? So you don't know anything about that. So all of that.
So I saw a meme, and it had the white female player going like this, and it said competitive, but it had like a tones of skin, and it had like the lighter side tones of skin for competitive, and then it had I think the black players responded to her later. I guess she won. I would assume she was beating her, and then she did like this again to her, and it was like, oh, that's classless, and it had like the skin tones of like being darker, and I was like, wow.
Right. So that came up and then so she won this award, and then they tried asking her. I wonder if they took this video down. See, that's why.
Wait, so who won the award? The
LSU,
lighter has received less sun than the other female
right.
player.
The team that had more black players won. LSU won the championship. So then the team that had more white players with Caitlin Clark, Iowa, they lost. So ultimately, what happened throughout the tournament is ultimately throughout
I know my people. They can't ball. Not the same.
Ultimately, throughout the tournament, Caitlin Clark, she was doing a little taunting, which I always think that stuff is part of the competition. I enjoy that stuff. I wouldn't teach it I wouldn't recommend it for anybody 8th grade and below, or if you're in high school and you don't make varsity, then hey, I don't want you doing any of the flaunting and taunting. But you make varsity or whatever,
Right.
again, I'm more on board with it. Like, you got to earn the right to flaunt and taunt in my own paradigm, my own perspective. Now, what happened over Twitter is and then other people were saying that, when Caitlin Clark was doing it, it was swag, it was admirable. Like she did it earlier in the tournament. And then Angel Reese, the black player, does it, and people are, calling her classless, calling her dirty, calling her whatever, whether it's ghetto or all these, again, these derogatory statements toward her for doing it. But then the tension came was that, hey, why did y'all commend this when the white player was doing it, but then condemn it when the black player was doing it? In my own opinion about it is they weren't actually equal, because Angel Reese did it for 11 seconds or so, and then Caitlin Clark did it for half a second or so, and it wasn't even toward her; it was toward the other. But
so
go ahead.
Who's the player that has seen less sun than the other person?
Caitlin Clark, yeah.
Caitlin. Okay, that sounds okay. Who's the other player's name?
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese. Okay. So Angel Reese did it for 11 seconds, but Caitlin did it for 5 seconds or half a second, you said.
Correct. And not even to this player. Now, she did it in another game, in a prior game. It wasn't even the same game.
Now, my real question is, who did it first? Was it Caitlin or Angel?
Caitlin did it first. The white girl did it first.
I don't care how long you did it. You taught me. If you stick your name,
but she didn't do it. She didn't do it to her or her team. This was a prior game, a different game.
Oh, so she didn't do it to that girl,
right?
But let me tell you something. When I actually care about something that I'm competitive in,
yeah,
I'm toxic.
No, right. Which the whole idea is like what I was sharing about previously was when I play video games with somebody who's like, they score a bucket, they're like, yes. I'm like, in my head, I'm going, you don't need to do that. And for that, I get so much motivation to want to beat them even worse. Like they're saying, I'll shout out to even our mutual friend Daryl Stonewall. He'd be one of those guys who he'd score a bucket on me. He'd be like, yes. Or like, not even like extraordinarily flamboyant, but he's like, just little gestures, but like it will like mess with you as a competitor because you just want to like demolish him even more.
You're doing one of these things, right? And you start losing. And you just, I'm not playing anymore, bro. Now I'm trying. I wasn't trying before.
All right, so I did find the video. So we're actually gonna play it from on the ESPN side. So I'm curious. So now that you have the background, Caitlin Clark, again, the white girl, she won the award, the few Player of the Year awards. So she's gonna be interviewed, and I'm curious now that you have some of the background, what your response is to this interview, that she did with ESPN. So let me.
So she won the game then, ultimately, in the end.
The last couple of days about a potential.
Who did? Angel Reese, the LSU, which was more of the black players were on LSU.
So Angel won and Caitlin lost, but Caitlin still got Player of the Year?
Yeah, because it evaluates the whole year. And like again, if you think about Caitlin Clark scored more points in NCAA tournament than any woman in history. She scored more 3-pointers in the NCAA tournament than anybody in history. She had more assists than anybody in NCAA history. So she was hitting records. She did her thing for the year. So she's rightfully winning these awards. So the reason I bring it up is because she deserved it. So now we're gonna go into this interview on ESPN. I guess I'll turn it up to 1.5 speed. So it'll be a little bit more sped up than usual. So you'll hear that, or maybe 1.25 is what I'll do that. All right, we'll let it rock.
She's not supposed to know what we are about to announce, what we are supposed to inform her about, but I think the cat's out of the bag. Caitlin, good afternoon. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm not sure under what false pretenses you might have been lured into the chair today, but we are here to make it official. Congratulations. You are the 2023 John R. Wooden Women's Player of the Year, as presented by Wendy's and given by the Los Angeles Athletic Club. I know it's a mouthful, and I know you're just kind of soaking it in now. But again, congratulations. And if you could, it's a clean sweep now of all the Player of the Year awards. What does this mean to you?
This is a huge honor. This is one of the most prestigious. Obviously, all these awards are a big deal, but I was a finalist for this award last year, so they do a tremendous job, with the award ceremony, with the banquet, and I'm just really honored to win this award. Obviously, Coach Wooden is a legend, and it's just a big honor to win an award in his name.
Caitlin, it's been a couple of days now since the final. 10 million people on average watching, an audience that peaked at about 12 million, the highest rated women's basketball game ever. How have you been wrapping your head around processing not only what happened in the tournament, but your entire season, the way it elevated the game?
It's honestly probably pretty hard for me to wrap my head around. It will probably take me a few weeks to reflect on the whole year. But, obviously just the last month in general has been kind of a whirlwind. And, I'm lucky to be a part of it. I think our team, we've done a tremendous job, had so much fun. And, more than anything, I know we played the maximum amount of games, but I'm just kind of sad it's over. But, it was fun to compete in the national championship. And, Hawk fans traveled so well to Dallas. And to be able to share that moment with them was, really fun too.
So thus far, again, she's answering the question the right way. She's lucky. She's honored. Praises the Hawk fan. She talks about her teammates. So again, all good thus far. And let's stay with it.
All that you've been doing this season.
All right.
Again, the conversation around women's basketball, particularly in the last few weeks, what do you think it will mean to young athletes out there who aspire to be like you?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is, I just want to inspire young boys and young girls to, be able to dream and do the same things that I've done. I was just that young girl. I looked up to, WNBA players, NBA players, college athletes, even other pro sport athletes. So, all you have to do is dream, work really hard, and be surrounded by really, really good people that believe in you too. And that's what I have here at the University of Iowa. So, I'm just lucky that I get to live out my dream on the biggest stage and, make a lot of other people turn into women's basketball fans too.
Caitlin, as you're well aware, the last couple of days, there's been this kind of national debate about what happened between you and Angel Reese in the final.
So now he's asking the question. This is the question. Is what happened between you and Angel Reese?
Final, the gestures she made towards you, the gestures you had made of a similar nature earlier in the tournament. What do you think about what happened on Sunday between you and Angel Reese?
Okay, so this is question number one about the issue. What do you think happened between you and Angel Reese?
Honestly, I haven't been on social media a ton since, we lost. But I think the biggest thing is, it was a competitive, super, super fun game. And I think that's what's going to bring more people to our game. I think the viewership speaks for itself over the past, tournament run. But even before that, our Big Ten tournament championship game had, huge amount of viewers as well. So, I'm just lucky to be on that stage, competing against some of the best players. And I think people are really starting to realize how good.
So you see what Angel Reese was doing. She did that for 11 seconds.
Our game is, how good the product is. So when you turn on the TV, they understand it. They keep coming back for more. But all the credit in the world to LSU. They played tremendous. They made a lot of tough shots on us. But Kim Mulkey's one of the best coaches of all time. So you got to give them a lot of credit. But I think we have so much to be proud of, and that's what Coach Blitter told us after the game is don't hang your head, hold it high, because you have a lot to celebrate, a lot to be proud of, and you made a lot of history for the state of Iowa.
I know you don't want to dwell on it.
Okay, so again, handled question number one. And this is not question number one, but it's question number one about the issue.
First of all,
yeah,
whoever her media coach person is,
that's what I'm about to get to, bro. About to get to. Wait,
deserves a raise.
wait for it. Wait for it. All right. Here's question two.
All right.
With this controversy, and Angel Reese took a lot of.
I'm gonna rewind it a second.
I know you don't want to dwell on it.
I know you don't want to dwell on it, but.
With this controversy, Angel Reese took a lot of criticism in a way that you hadn't. What do you think might account for the difference there?
So he's asking a question. Angel Reese was criticized for the gestures. You were not criticized for the gestures. Twitter made it very clear. They said it's racially based. But so he's asking her open-ended, what do you think is the reason she faced the backlash versus you did not? What do you think? What do you think, Caitlin Clark?
Let's see if this media coaching paid off. Let's see.
I think the biggest thing is, we're all competitive. We all show our emotions in a different way. Angel's tremendous player. I have nothing but respect for her. I love her game. The way she rebounds the ball, scores the ball is absolutely incredible. I'm a big fan of her. And even the entire
I'm a big fan of her. The way she scores, the way she rebounds.
LSU team, like I said, they played an amazing game.
What a liar.
So, I don't think there should be any criticism for what she did.
No, I don't think there should be any criticism for what she did.
No, I honestly didn't see it when the game was going on. And like I said, I haven't been on social media really at all. I'm just trying
She's looking at it.
What this team did and enjoy every single second with my teammates because, we have two really good seniors that are moving on from our team that have given a lot. And, they've been some of my best friends,
Redirecting it to her team and her seniors that are moving on.
I've been here at the University of Iowa. So I'm just lucky enough that, I got to play on that stage and have that opportunity with them. And I believe I get to
I'm lucky enough, we had the right
Play
answer.
for one of the best coaches of all time, and Coach Bluter, and
Talking about her own coach.
She believes in me more than anybody ever has. So, I'm just more than anything lucky.
Now, mind you, she was asked, what do you think is the reason Angel Reese received the backlash, but you did not? And then that's what her answer.
I honestly think that she also must have majored in public relations or something, because this is just a classic case of not answering a question, but saying a bunch of fluff.
Wait for this third one. The third one. All right, you ready?
Oh, there's more. Don't want you to dwell on it.
Been saying, a lot of people have been talking about it, but one of the things people talk about is race as a component of this. Your thoughts?
So the first question is, the question we finished, which was, what was the reason she received the backlash? So he was hoping she would say something about the race reason. She did not mention race, but so he's saying,
let me help you.
Right.
Jeez.
We'll let him say it again. Let me go back.
But one of the things people talk about is race as a
I'm just more than anything lucky.
As we've been saying, a lot of people have been talking about it, but one of the things people talk about is race as a component of this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think Angel should be criticized at all. No matter which way it goes, she should never be criticized for what she did. I'm just one that competes, and she competed. So I think everybody knew there was going to be a little trash talk in the entire tournament. It's not just me and Angel. So, I don't think she should be criticized. Like I said, LSU deserves it. They played so well. And like I said, I'm a big fan of hers. I believe that's what makes this game so fun. That's what draws.
There was a cut. I don't know why the cut was there, but there was a cut. But anyway, so what'd you take on the way she answered the race question?
Well, I mean, ultimately she didn't. It just sounds like again PR, and she's like a master at, like, she's proving she's really, really good at it.
Yeah.
If basketball, if she gets into the WNBA to make a whopping $18.50 an hour, that doesn't work out. Then she could definitely make more in public relations for sure. I actually stole that from a meme.
Bro,
so I don't want to take credit for the $18.50 an hour.
Bro said, she's making the league, bro. She's making the league. But you said for a whopping $18.50. Now, they said there's a few female athletes in college that are already millionaires right now. I wonder if she's one of them. Let's see.
From playing? Because I know they changed the rules, right? You can get sponsors and stuff now.
I'm going to put the NCAA, NIL millionaires. I thought it was like 7. The biggest NIL earners in women's sports from 2022. Let's see if it has anything. I'll go ahead and share it on the screen as well. Olivia Dunn, LSU Gymnastics. Sunny Lee, Auburn Gymnastics. Paige Buckers, UConn Basketball. I knew about these two. Miami Basketball, the two sisters. I'm like low key concerned that okay, another Jada Williams, Arizona Basketball.
Concerned that what?
I don't even know what kind of pictures would pop up if they're making money. A part of me
thinks the first one I was like, oh.
right. So yeah, I'll leave that alone if we're not gonna be able to find it. So, anyway, let's see. So, it's clear what the NBA, the ESPN analysts, their purpose was in that interview, to get some potent quote from Caitlin Clark saying something about race, saying something about the controversy. But ultimately, I think you alluded to this from the very beginning, like her media training, her media coach, and that preparation that they did for her to, to navigate through those questions without being trapped. You remind me. I mean, it is something we see in the scriptures as far as like some of the Pharisees, the teachers of the law, would try to trap Jesus in what he said. And I think you just see that played out in this other context in the sports world, where they're trying to have her say something controversial to make a headline, But again, I think she handled it like a champ.
Yep. No headline for ESPN. Stay broke. Make no money off of trying to make me look terrible.
So for ESPN, this one's for you.
Yes. L. Take a L.
All right.
But ultimately,
go ahead.
Back to the original question. I'm really, really competitive. So like, I love the trash talk. So I know I trash talk, like if it's something I care about. And if I was competitively in a tournament in NCAA, basketball tournament, I'd obviously care. So like, I've always lived by, if I dish it, I have to be able to take it. So I honestly would see no problem with it.
Right. And again, Caitlin Clark, to her credit, again, like, so here's the thing that I mentioned, like, if I'm Caitlin Clark's agents or even her manager, or if I'm involved in, or even on the Angel Reese side, if I'm on either one of the sides, I'm saying, look, this is the national championship game. So the more gestures you do, there's a reason that LeBron James is marketable. There's a reason Steph Curry is marketable. There's a reason these players who add a little bit of sauce to what they do as performers that stretches into the realm of entertainment, that pushes their value. Because again, when you think about those images and videos of Angel Reese pointing at her finger for the ring that she's about to get because of the championship, like ESPN literally took that picture and put it on their Twitter of the, and I think the caption was something like, cold picture, or like, again, they were commending the value of that shot. So again, I think there's a great value to be expressive. Like, most people aren't going to be the Tim Duncans. Most people aren't going to be reserved in that space, and it's probably better for them to be more expressive so that they can be that much more marketable in the world of sports entertainment.
But I don't see LeBron James really ever talk trash. It's almost boring.
What do you mean? Like on a media standpoint, you're talking about in the games?
Like, even in the games, I really don't see him. I don't really watch a lot, but
there are times when, there's and Angel Reese did this where, like, they'll get the hand and put it real low to the floor, and ultimately saying they scored on you because you're too small, and they have like the hand down to the floor. Like, Angel Reese did that in the middle of the game, of the championship game, when she pulled the rebound.
So you're saying what Angel Reese did actually helped her out sponsor wise, and
that's exactly right.
Made herself more marketable. Okay,
that's right. So again, I think it's good, and that's what I would have coached them to do from a manager standpoint, from an agent standpoint, from optimizing their ability to make more income, is make this entertaining, add some sauce to it. Now, Caitlin Clark decided to not, continue a back and forth. Like, Caitlin Clark could have, for example,
right.
Even in the interview of, I felt disrespected. I thought it was class. Like, she could have went back into it, or she could have, again, more deflate. Like, she chose the route of deflating, credit, gracious. So she chose the very, very gracious route, which, again, that's.
So you think that?
Go ahead.
So you think that will give her less sponsored money?
Well, I think it could fit with her brand as I think she kind of is able to hit both, right? I think she's able to so people called it swag when she was doing it, when she was, doing the face, or when she was like this to the crowd, or whatever she was doing in the prior games. But I think it could work to her advantage in the climate, as far as how toxic it got with Twitter, especially.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, interesting.
Let's talk about Jill Biden.
Yay.
He said yay. All right, Jill Biden. So you're aware of the tradition of championship teams making a trip to the White House. You're aware of this?
Oh, this is what happened. Okay. White privilege.
So let me go ahead and pull up this one. Angel Reese rejects apology. All right. People.com has this article. LSU star Angel Reese and her teammates likely aren't visiting the White House anytime soon. Reese, 20, spoke candidly about Dr. Joe Biden's prior suggestion to invite both LSU and Iowa to the White House, despite the losing team having never been invited in the past. Reese, this is an assumption. She goes, if LSU were to lose, we would not be getting invited to the White House. That's an assumption that we would not have got the invite, but they're getting it. And then so Angel Reese continues. She goes, I remember Biden made a comment about both teams should be invited because of sportsmanship. And I'm like, are you saying because of what I did? The whole face, you can't see me, or the ring.
Yeah.
Reese added, referencing her taunt to Iowa's Caitlin Clark, which sparked a slew of online criticism toward the LSU star. Reese said stuff like that, referring to the First Lady's idea, bothers her because she'd expect her to be more supportive of the women's tournament champions. Now, I'm not even convinced this was like inviting them to the same dinner or at the same time. But Angel Reese said, it bothers me because you're a woman at the end of the day and you're supposed to be standing behind us before anything. So it's hard to see things like that and not comment back on it. The LSU star revealed that a lot of phone calls were made regarding the team's potential visit to the White House. That's why she wants to come out and apologize, Reese explained. But at the same time, I don't accept it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't accept the apology. You said what you said. Reese continued, I said what I said. You can't go back on certain things that you say. All right, first thoughts.
So I'm actually going to take what may be surprising to you. I'm actually going to agree with her. I think Biden comes from a pretty racist past. If you look at some of the things that he's done in the past, and when has he ever invited another losing team, or when has she ever invited another losing team? I've never even heard of that. Why now? The only thing I could think to make me want to take the opposite side would be like, oh, well, this player's like, she scored the most points out of all the WNBA players like of all time.
Yeah.
So that could be potentially something, but even still, like, it's pretty suspect with Joe Biden's past. And it doesn't, it's just random. It's just weird. It doesn't make any sense because of sportsmanship. So like, I'm actually going to probably take her side. Like, what if LSU did lose? Would you get invited? Like, I don't know. Something tells me probably not. So yeah, I'm surprisingly taking the other side that I usually don't. So,
so I think when I see a situation like this, I think the issue of like the assumption behind it, like I think how would you know? Like, I mean, and that's.
But it's never been done previously. Never, for any reason.
Yeah, I agree. But the idea that they wouldn't have, and maybe we could click on those other links to see if there's additional information. Ultimately, Angel Reese said they were talking about they're going to go to the Obamas instead. So anyway, so
okay, his former boss, like, is it that different? Like. And then, I mean, ultimately, Joe Biden with his past on busing, when they were wanting to put blacks and white people going to school on the same bus, he was like against it for really odd, not really explainable reasons. I think people give him a really, really weird excuse and pass on that just because they didn't want Donald Trump to be president. But it was clearly a lot of racist things that Joe Biden has said, funerals that he's attended from former KKK members. Being for the pro 90, what is it, the 94 crime drug bill. The list really just goes on. The weird, suspect things that he said in his past. Like, I think Joe Biden seems to me to like have a racist past, in my opinion. So, I mean, I can see this being true.
So you think this is more of confirming that, again, more evidence confirming some of that, that racial bias?
I feel that sometimes, I do lean more on the conservative side, and I feel like sometimes people, I guess because they just look at the majority conservative popular opinion, will be extreme on one end. But I don't think that I'm so stupid and so blind to think that nothing has to do with race when it comes to um, social issues, I guess is what you could say. I do think that there are consequences for things that have happened in the past that sometimes still are affect today. I do think people have prejudices, discrimination. Some are racist, although it's not as prevalent, I think, as the other side of the political spectrum tries to make it seem. But for me to act like it's completely non-existent, I think would be a little ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
And to me, I feel like the whole gesture thing and all of that being the classless thing, like, yeah, I do feel that sometimes, like, yeah, maybe Black people get a little more, they get more, there's more judgmental for things on, like they get away with a lot less than maybe the other side can.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's due to culture, statistics, or whatever the case may be. But like, I don't think there's like, I'm not one of those conservatives that think like, oh, everything is absolutely a lie and every person that gets shot by the police is, that they just would have complied. Like, I mean, I agree with a lot of those, but definitely not all of them.
Yeah. Right. I kind of go back to the assumption is like, the assumption I'm giving toward people, is it helping or hurting cohesion? Is it helping or hurting the peace that we have? Is it helping or hurting the division? Is it helping or hurting? So when that assumption goes, we would not have got an invite. Like, why make that assumption? Again, basic human dignity, like basic human courtesy. If to speculate that I would have been excluded, that data would just have been absent. You know what I'm saying? Like so I'm thinking from, if I'm whatever, let's say in a somebody's wedding or as far as we take this the topic of being invited, and if I'm going to assume a circumstance where I would have been excluded and I wouldn't have been invited for whatever reason, like I don't know if that thought process serves me or us or people to assume the worst about other people in a setting like that. I don't see it as a productive thought.
I agree, and I agree and don't disagree, but I have another point. Yeah. So I completely agree. It's definitely not going to be cohesive. It's definitely not going to help healing. It's definitely a separational divide for sure. But that doesn't necessarily say that just because it's not cohesive and it's not something that brings people together might not make what she's assuming to not be true. I think if you were invited to a wedding, or if you were not invited to a wedding, even though maybe you were part of a group, and everyone in that group got invited also, maybe you were a different skin color, and that person had a weird past, maybe with the skin color that you are. And then on top of that, there was, issues. Maybe you and somebody else in that group had a friendly competition, but then other people, again, kind of, trying to point it back to what actually happened with the gesture. Right? Like there's actual things that you can that might make you conclude, okay, well, this seems to be unfair. This seems to be unjust. versus like, oh, you're just not invited to a wedding with no other things happening outside before you got invited to that wedding. Just assuming, I think there were circumstances that you could make that similar comparison to with the wedding, as well as the gesture, and then people saying, oh, it's classless, not classless, etc.
You know, I think the interesting thing about even like the racial stuff is clearly like the Bidens know about that criticism on their record, right? It's not like something that they're, you know what I'm saying? And like sometimes when you have that in the record, like you will try to compensate by doing extra stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it would just be an interesting thing. Like even it seems as though when Joe Biden said it, it was on the spot. She was interviewed, or again, a microphone was put in her face, and she just threw out the idea, saying, "Hey, I'm going to talk to Joe about the idea of us having both teams because both competed, both had a good game, and so like the idea." So if I'm called to make a deductive conclusion, or even if I'm called as a Christian to think about what is true, what was true, what she said, she thought about both teams receiving an invitation. Is that a wrong thought? I don't think that's a wrong to invite more people. Again, is it unprecedented? Right, it's unprecedented. But like to assume motive, oh, the motive is to extend additional courtesy to a predominantly white team. I think that's part of the problem is you're assuming a motive. Like we just can't in human interactions. It doesn't help you to assume motives. If you want to know somebody's motivation, and like maybe you have that conversation of, ask the question: would we have gotten an invite if we had lost? And then accept that. Would they say yes? They say no. Accept that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, she's not going to say no. You know what I'm saying? She's going to say yes. But like, there's a parable that Jesus told, and it was a parable when John the Baptist was criticized. He wouldn't drink. He was eating locusts. He seemed to be more on the reserve side as far as eating and drinking. And he would be standoff, should be in the wilderness or whatever. And then Jesus was with the people, criticized for being a drunkard or being a glutton, eating too much. And so you have these opposite personalities. And Jesus told a parable. He said, "You're like the children who say that we played a dirge and you didn't cry, or then we played a flute and you didn't dance." Like, so he was saying both of these opposing personalities you had a problem with. So when I think about that parable often, because we can create situations where people lose. It's a lose-lose situation. So it was a So whenever people create that for themselves, I'm like, yeah, it's leading to more problems and more solutions. So
with that, so the context that I've got beforehand was more of just this gesture. This is class. This is not da da da. With that context, is what you're saying. Like, yeah, I mean, sounds a little bit more agreeable on your end as well. My curiosity would be to say, when she said that, what was the questions that was said before that? What were they talking about before that? I think that would give me a little more clue into the context. But I think context would completely matter for assumption either way, or not assuming, I guess.
So yeah, there's probably two assumptions. It's like, one, what is true. Like that's what at the end of biblical call that we're called into. I think it's the best thing for people to think about. What's true? Both teams were invited. Now, what's untrue is the motive of the person, of the reason behind that. You don't know the motive. It was racially oriented, or it was around helping to recognize people who came to the final game but still lost. Again, like to me, that's not a far-fetched concept of like. I know we give virtually nothing to the number 2 finish. Again, like in the Olympics, they get a silver medal. In the NCAA championship, they get nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the winning team and nothing else. So like to me, it was a charitable gesture that was reinterpreted to be something worse when there's just not enough data to make that conclusion. So
Oh, you done? Sorry,
yeah,
I thought you were about to say something else.
yeah. It just wasn't enough data.
No, I think. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know more about the story than me, but like again, I'd still like to see the context between why, like, what was being talked about before she said that. Because maybe that had something to do with her making that assumption, or if there was the context didn't it didn't portray anything faulty, or they weren't talking about any gestures, or they weren't, whatever. Then yeah, maybe it would seem kind of silly to just assume that. So yeah, I feel like context matters a lot, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I don't think you have the facts for every single thing, like you're saying, what is true and what is not. But I think we can conclude from someone's past, or again what was talked about beforehand, or what's different stereotypes were out there that people fit, and all different kinds of different things that you can also conclude to be like, yeah, like I've seen a lot of life, I had a lot of experiences like something like this. You know, can't give you 100% fact on something, but I mean, I think we make decisions every single day based on a feeling, or based on our past experiences, or based on something. And I think it probably keeps us out of trouble, more trouble than I think would not. Because I know every time I've gone against my gut, or gone against something that told me I should or shouldn't do, I've always regretted it in the end. So, I mean, I think it's hard to just make decisions only on facts every single, like, I can't take anything else into conclusion. I can't take hints. I can't take suspect looking things, because it's not 100% concrete fact. But I do think what you said has, definitely has merit. People won't be satisfied sometimes what you do, no matter what, either way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, the element of not always being able to make conclusions based on, again, logical deduction is kind of the phrase or the thing. Okay, you have a set of facts, and you could only make statements based on this fact. The fact is, she discussed an invitation to the losers, the losing team. That's it. A motive wasn't discussed. There wasn't a why. Hey, for this reason. There was nothing more discussed other than to honor both of these teams. So, the race wasn't discussed.
Also, there's no really.
Yeah. So
okay.
So, in any of my if anybody does something that bothers me, offends me, or rubs me the wrong way, I have a responsibility in the friendship, in the relationship, to go check. Hey, like, this happened. Well, what was your thought process? And go from there. But to assume worst, and again, make a whole line of thought around it. And again, it's keeping her in the news cycle as far as making news about it. When you're talking about rejecting an invitation by the first lady, that's big deal.
I'd have rejected it. I don't want to meet you.
But and the part about it, to make it about the Obamas, then again, it's like, we're gonna reject the invitation from the white couple, and we want to go ahead and accept the invitation from the black couple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
well, then I would have accepted an invitation from Dr. Sowell, or what's the guy? Ben Carson.
Who's that?
He ran for president against Trump, lost, but Trump took him, and he was
He's like a neuro surgeon,
the head of housing. Yeah, a surgeon.
Yeah, got it.
So that way, it would have been more inclusive, because I don't want to meet Obama either.
All right.
Or
Boom.
the senator from North Carolina.
Who's that?
What is it, Tim Scott, I think? I think it's Tim Scott, if I'm not mistaken.
You got some political
Some
information
black
that
senator.
I didn't even realize. Political game.
I used to be really into
In your
politics, but
in your political
have,
bag. Now let me ask you a
yeah.
question about that while we're kind of talking about this. So, you're back in your faith journey, and certainly, in your journey outside of that, there's maybe an immersion in like the political, in your like maybe political awareness, in your political analysis and all this. I'm curious your perspective, fresh back into faith. Have you seen Christians effectively incorporate politics where it's effective, where it's it's not off-putting, but it seems mature, it seems based, it's there's respect, there's honor. I'm curious if you've seen that as you've been around the Christian culture, you've been around the political culture, and you're a fan of it, you observe it. What have you observed there?
There's only one person that I can say that has navigated politics in a way that probably made every side feel included, and in my opinion took a correct stance on everything, but at the same time, well, let me not say correct stance, took a stance that highlighted the facts, but also came with love, came with understanding, came with mourn with those who mourn, you know, and that would be the head of the church that I go to at CBC, which would be Pastor Ed Newton. He did a trending series, as it's called, and he talked about BLM, Black Lives Matter, and he said he led with so much grace, led with so much love, with so much understanding. He had said that he had organized a George Floyd walk, and there were some Christians that were very, very mad at him. And I forgot what his reasoning was. But he was like, no, man, there's a community hurting right now, and we're going to be with that community, which to me sounds like, hey, man, you're acting out in love right now. I don't know what he never said what his politics were, which would be highly, I'm glad he didn't, because that's weird. That probably just be confrontational, to some people,
Yeah.
Who are on the other side. But him doing that, but at the same time saying, hey, Black Lives Matter is a communist organization. It was started by two people who are trained and have professed that they are communists and trained by another communist. He did say as the organization was an overall negative and something that he did not believe in, but the idea that Black Lives Matter was something that he believed in, right? And I think everybody left there that day, Democrat and Republican, conservative and liberal, on either side, and maybe unless you were like extremely far leftist or extremely far right. But I mean, the overall mood of the church, me being way more on the conservative side, and I feel like he made more. It was more sympathy for the left, or for the Democratic side. Still left that church, left that service. Sorry, happy, left it in peace, was very content in my heart with the church that I was going to, the person who was leading it, because he said, hey, there's a like, I thought about this too, before I was a Christian, I wouldn't have cared about the community at all. I'm like, oh, they're wrong, that's it, period, that's stupid, right? And now that I'm a Christian, I can, try to live my life coming from the heart first, and through love, because that's the number one, number two greatest commandments from God. It's like, hey, there is a community hurting, like whether or not I agree with them or not, like these people are hurting. And I need to be more sympathetic, and maybe I should listen more, because maybe I'm only maybe I'm in an echo chamber that I don't know about, let me listen to them, what they have to say, whether or not at the end I agree with them or not. I can still be sympathetic. I can still be empathetic. And still, like, I just think completely dismissing them, even in that, for that instance, for that terrible thing that did happen, whether or not you do agree or not, like, George Floyd was on drugs, he swallowed all that fentanyl before, or whatever the case may be. I mean, you still had, regardless if he didn't do any of those drugs, like, you had his knee on his back for over 30 minutes, or I think 20, 30 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
You didn't render aid, you didn't check on him. Like, I think we can all agree that was wrong. That's not the duty of police officers to protect and serve. When I went to the police academy 2014, if you were on a police chase and you hit an innocent bystander, and the guy you were chasing was a felony, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. You stop chasing the person who has the felony to capture him, and you go check on the person that you hit, and you render them aid. And if you have to lose the bad guy, then whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But that's standard police protocol. So it's protect and serve. And they failed to do that at that instance. So everyone else that I've heard talk about politics or talk about anything that's controversial in that nature has not done it, if they were a Christian or whatever, has not done it in a way that I said, hey, like, you're not coming from a place of love. Like, it's not the word. What is the word I'm looking for? It's not necessarily positive, but it's not doing productive. It's not productive in any way that I think that glorifies the kingdom at all.
Yeah.
And that'd be on either side for me, conservative or Democrat, Christian. And so I think people on both sides need to learn to compromise. Like, I felt like I was compromising a lot of what, especially when I wasn't a Christian, I was compromising a lot.
Yeah.
Agreeing with all that service, feeling content, feeling happy, like, hey, we're acting out in love. I realized I had a sinful heart. So, before I was a Christian and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
What about you? That's a good question.
Well, no,
Sorry for my long answer.
like, there's such a, so what's fascinating about my own experience is when I'm away from watching what people post, then it's almost like the only interactions I have are with friends, and then relationship dynamics in influencing even a vibe in the room, or a spirit in the room, or even how people are interacting. I'm just aware that my wife has told me this a lot, that people act differently around me. So in an uplifting way, whether, like, whatever, they're more patient than they normally are, or they're more humble than they normally are, or they're more gentle than they normally are. So, and that's especially true. And it's real. There's certain people that trigger you a whole lot less than other people. And then so
Yeah.
that's important for me with my friends, especially my guy friends. We're talking, we're like, I remember a friend that I meet with every other week. We get together for that discipleship time to discuss life and to uplift each other and to build each other up. Now, he asked me the question. So he said, hey, do you see anything like overly aggressive in me or impatient in me? And I'm like, I don't see it in you, but I'm probably not one of those people that triggers you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm probably not one of those people that makes you impatient. I'm probably not one of those people that you get annoyed with easily. Like, when we're around each other, there is a lot of harmony. We're often on the same page and considerate of one another and respectful of each other. So that makes it really convenient and easy for you to be patient and gentle and considerate and humble and all these things.
Yeah.
So I say all of that because, that's some of mine. So my environments are sometimes very abnormal in how people, behave in when I'm around. So then, so the question is, like, do I know anybody who's extra political? And I'm like, often when I'm around, I might be asking questions about their life or how they're doing, or about their kids, or like the conversation kind of goes to things that actually matter, which there's the implication of that is that some of the politics things sometimes in my own paradigm could be like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm probably more apolitical. Like I just don't really know about a whole lot of stuff in that realm. So if somebody were to ask me the question, who do you know that navigates that with a lot of maturity, with really great Christian character, and yet they're able to express what they think politically with grace and truth, you know, taking hard stances based on the scriptures, yet being gracious when there's areas that's a little bit different from what they prefer. Like there's a big question mark for me. Like, I don't know people. I don't know. Like, but I also
disappointed. Thought we were gonna say me. I'm just kidding.
But again, like, what would that mean? That would it be like, hey, let me ask, like, is that even with close friends? Like, again, I started asking some of my closer friends, hey, like, where are you at, like, with pro-life, pro-choice? And because in the naive thought process, I always thought like most mature Christians I've seen who have chosen to express where they are about it. And I say mature Christians, which are godly character people, most of them are on the pro-life side. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
And then so but then having conversation with Christian people who have some context for, you know, whatever on the pro-choice, and I was like, oh, really? Like, I didn't even know, that people, again, on that godly character, mature, have again some of those leanings to when pro-choice or whatever. So again, it was just something that hadn't really ever come up. Again, these are some of my closest friends. We had never discussed pro-choice, pro-life. It's never even come up. You know what I'm saying?
I think in America, it's really alarming how we're unable to have a conversation between opposite political parties. I think it's set up that way on purpose, but I feel like it's extremely unhealthy. And I know, like in other countries like Sweden and like a lot of Eastern European countries, from what I've heard, it's not like I've actually been there, but what I heard is that it's pretty common for everyone to just talk about politics and not get mad at each other. In fact, it's encouraged. And here it's just like, hey, three things: religion, what is it? Religion, politics, and I think one of them is sex or something. You don't talk about, you try not to bring up, you know, in public, at work, or whatever. Those are the three things that I believe people get extremely upset with extremely fast. And I think they should be teaching in schools, like to have these kind of debates, and then,
discussions,
you know, teacher could look at,
Yeah, yeah, I'm following you.
Yeah, like I think a teacher could look and like, hey, like you're having a debate with a student, you're getting obviously emotionally frustrated. I think you should check that, you know, and, you know, different ways that we could navigate tough conversations of disagreeing. Because I admit I'm not the best at it. I'll never try to get in a political argument because I usually just get extremely upset right away. So I just change the subject. So like I'm speaking not as a hypocrite, but from personal experience. I know that's something I need to personally work on, which has definitely gotten better. And I've definitely kind of removed myself from politics almost altogether. And I feel like my spirit, my walk in Christianity, my walk with God, my peace has been tenfold stronger. Because I feel like it doesn't matter what side you're on, Democrat or Republican, it's, hey, this is why these people are stupid, and let me tell you why we're amazing. But again, these people are dumb. It's just like negative. Like it's hard to get, like my dad grew up on. We watched like the world news, and there was no opinion. It was like, here's what the news says, here's what this side says, this is what that side says. Okay, next story. You know, like that's extremely rare to find these days. Everything's highly charged for ratings and to get people emotional.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we can't talk about it, because we get emotional, because that's how we receive our news, is and from emotional. It's designed to make us angry. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah,
it'd be nice though.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I think because I would ask some of those questions, and I think the dialogue was super fascinating. And like, hey, what have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And we're back and forth. And
I would like to hear the pro-choice arguments, because I think that was one of the major things I used to be and still kind of sympathize with, being more on the liberal side. That's not as far as time wise, for sure. I think some people were talking about even after they were born, like, what is going on in this life? But I was like, I think, what is it, like after 2 months, there's a heartbeat or something like that, or there's I don't know, the brain's more developed. I'm not sure what it was that made me maybe say, okay, well, from this time frame, I'm cool with it or whatever. And then kind of hearing arguments, it's like, hey, you're right. Maybe like that's kind of murder or whatever. But I think the biggest thing that I haven't changed my mind on at all is like, hey, if you're gonna die from having this child, like, it's absolutely ridiculous, or you're in jeopardy of your own life to have this child due to medical complications. Like, why are there laws forcing women to have a child when it's risking their own life? That makes zero sense.
mm,
Or like grape, if you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, that. Like, it's like, oh, we'll just give it to adoption. Like, do you think you just grew something in your stomach for 9 months and you're going to give it up to adoption and you're just not going to have no emotional damage from that?
right,
Like,
right.
so I can kind of understand, pro-choice and that argument as well. But I'm curious it sounds like they use scripture. It sounds like they have like some kind of biblical perspective of why they can justify being pro-choice. Is that correct?
I mean, even what you were saying right there, the second one about, or the first example when you about somebody's health on the line, right? And the idea of like, oh, like which life is, it's a weird question, right? Like which life do you choose? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's what that one comes down to. Like, is one's life more important? Is this the lesser of two evils? So do we neglect one life in the name of the other? Is what comes up? Is there again, like, is it in the same category as murder, or as killing, right? And or one conversation came up as far as like interfering with life, like so this idea, the whole line of thinking in one conversation I was in went down to like, at what point are you interfering with life being created? To talk about contraception as well, and I was like, oh dang, like what? Like, is that what and it's another
Wow. Yeah.
like thought process. And then even like on that one, like
Interesting.
that there is, I think it's some Catholics and a few other Christian sects hold that view as far as contraception being one of the problems in a Genesis 38 concept of like this, not Genesis, yeah, it is Genesis 38, is when I think it's Onan, spilled his seed on the floor because he didn't want to have the kid. He wanted the pleasure without the responsibility, right? Which is, again, fascinating to think through, of like human nature is we don't want responsibility. So now then the conversation came up is like, do you create laws for really rare exceptional situations, or do you create laws for really more of the masses, the mass situations? If like the grape situation being whatever, a very, very, very low percentile, that's atypical of these other situations when it's happening. If you have, I think it was like 60% is like who've had multiple deletions of babies, right? So it's like, this isn't, most of these situations aren't that. So
Right.
So
But in the, and some of the, like, I think of Texas one in the anti-abortion bill, it's put in there. It doesn't matter about the medical condition of the mother having the child, you still have to have it. And I think in the grape situation as well, same thing. I'm like, hey, like, let's just say I was pro life. Like, why can't we have like a pro life bill that has those two exceptions? You know what I mean? Like, even for the low percentage chances, there's still people You know what I mean? But like for the majority, like you said, 60%. Like, hey, I'm all for that. Like I understand
Yeah,
that. But like let's make an exception where there should be an exception. You know?
Yeah, and then like
Live some life on.
on that pro life side, as far as that grape situation, it's I've heard the end of the thought process is like they choose there's two evils at play, and they choose the lesser of two. So they're gonna protect the child that was created. Again, as far as that goes, like they'll double down on protecting the life that was. If there's two, if both choices are gonna be evil, then one's gonna be lesser. Which one is that? So again, that's that side. But again, it makes you think about when things become really personal. What happens when it's a little sister? What happens when it's your daughter? What happens when it's, whatever? What happens when it's a spouse?
What the child is developing is at 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, like very, very low weeks. Like,
yeah, right. And
that's what I struggle with. It's like,
well,
how much development has happened? Like, is this really alive? You know what I mean? And so that's why I haven't come to a conclusion on that. So,
and that's again, that's some of the things that's come up. Is like, at what point is it considered life? Is it the moment of conception? Is the moment it has DNA, which is where some of the pro-lifers are like, hey, like as soon as it has DNA, that's something miraculous that has happened. Like there's something divine that has happened, and that which has been created cannot be. We don't have the authority to destroy that. So anyway, all that.
So my question would be: Are those people pro death penalty? Same argument, like deletion of people who've done really sick things, but still deleting someone.
Yeah. No, I again, good. I think that's a good question. I think even with the whole what is it? Is it firearms or whatever? Is that Second Amendment? Which amendment is the firearms?
Yeah, Second Amendment. Firearms.
Like that stuff. Second. Like again, in a weird way, I don't know any of my friends' thoughts on that topic. You know what I'm saying? Because it literally, like, that's something that never is in conversation when I'm around, at least. You know what I'm saying? So, and I would argue, I probably have, like, as far as the depth of connection and depth of communication that we go to in my conversation with people, like we go many places, but like not to some of those other things. And then the question about how much does the Christian voice matter, and should we make the Christian voice known in where we stand on any one issue, and how much that matters. So
yeah.
But yeah, so
I got a lot deeper, right?
It did. But back to where we started, which was, if we know people, so the problem with people who often are outspoken politically is that they're often immature spiritually or immature in their character. And so it creates this caricature of, it's a bad association, which is people who are outspoken politically are immature spiritually. But I'm in my mind, I'm looking for the exception. Oh, are there exceptions to that principle where, oh man, this person has humility, compassion, they have generosity, they're gracious in what they say and how they say it, and they're exceptionally thoughtful, intelligent, considerate, and you know what I'm saying? Like this hybrid or this unicorn of maturity and thoughtfulness in a person, because oftentimes the more mature person that I see in the Christian faith, I often don't know anything about what they believe politically. Often because they're involved in the Christian faith, doing the actual Christian work. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
But again, like, so even when it comes to this whole pro-life, pro-choice thing, it's what fascinates me about it is how relevant it is for Christians to have a voice in this situation that affects many, many, many lives. If we're counting the lives in the womb, right? So I've heard like people talk about like womb to the tomb pro-life, like as far as like the whole human being, the whole, not just in the womb but out of the womb, and taking care of the child, taking care of the woman, taking care again to people, human beings until they die, not just in this one condition. So it's a yeah, again, this wasn't part of our notes, but good
No, it was a good conversation though.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think.
Yes, sir. The last one we have on deck is Pearl.
All right, give me the cheese may.
All right,
I don't know about this cheese may.
Pearl May
Pearly
Sue.
things.
Pearl from Pearly Things.
Red pill misogynist.
Red Pill Queen who took the throne over from Andrew Tate when he went to Romanian prison.
You know, I haven't followed her at all on YouTube. I actually forgot about her, but this should be interesting.
Yeah, me too, actually. I haven't. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with her, but ultimately, this article. Let me see if I can move this.
Who quit for what? What?
Pearl says she may sue her black former podcast co-host who quit for comments likening her YouTube business to a plantation. Why are we on the race tip today?
Bro, but she does work extremely hard. So, I mean, if you can't work at her level, well, let's see what the comments were.
All right. Podcaster and commentator Sarah Garvey cut ties with anti-feminist creator Pearl. He accused her of having a colonialist mindset and not paying her black co-hosts appropriately. Pearl told Insider his statements are defamatory and she may be suing him. Anti-feminist podcaster Pearl says she may sue her former co-host Sarah Garvey after he dramatically cut ties with her last week. In a 20-minute video posted on Friday, Garvey alleged that Pearl underpays the black creators on her podcast, The Pregame, and has a colonialist mindset. He compared her content business to a plantation. In a message to Insider, Pearl described Garvey's claims about how she pays people as defamatory and false, and suggested she intends to pursue legal action against him. She said, Garvey has had an agenda against me for months. The claim and Pearl's response shines a light on a contentious part of the creator economy, where people often work outside of normal employee-employer relationships. Hannah Pearl Davis, who is known as just Pearl to her audience, is a prominent but controversial creator whose reach has boomed in recent months. Garvey, who is British, said in the video that he and Davis decided to make a podcast together when she moved to London from Chicago. He said he agreed because she was making content similar to that of controversial dating YouTuber Kevin Samuels, who he admired and who died last year. Garvey said that death left a vacuum within the manosphere space for Davis to fill. He said he used to work for Davis on a pay-per-appearance basis, but had recently been offered a different arrangement. He said Davis proposed that he work 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. days in exchange for 30% of the video's ad revenue, but no fixed salary. He said he considered the offer too little. He did not provide any proof of the arrangement. He did not respond to Insider's request for comment, but in a subsequent interview with YouTuber Anton Daniels, he alluded to sharing more information soon. All right. I keep going, or do you want to comment from here?
I just wonder what she plays. Auntie, the black female, one who's always chiming in to basically have her back. And she's still on the podcast, right? And she's black, so.
As a video. You want to play it?
Sure.
What up, guys? Welcome to the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel. Welcome to Morning Coffee Thoughts, where I give my thoughts over morning coffee. Today I have a chai tea. I quit coffee. You guys don't care about what I'm drinking. Okay. Today, I'm going to be addressing the Nick Fuentes situation. Yeah, I know why you guys are here. Okay. So I want to first say I take full accountability for everything that happened. Everything that happens in life, as I say to the girls on my show, is my own fault. The fact that people are making.
Do you have any idea what she's talking about? Maybe she's talking about something not even related to this. Or is
Yeah,
she?
she said Nick Fuentes. Oh, geez.
I don't even know who that is.
Wow.
Who is that?
I think that was the guy I thought was just like an innocent guy who CNN tried to trash him for. He was standing in front of the Native Americans, and he was just sitting there smiling. And so CNN tried to say he was racist, and he sued him, won a bunch of money from them. Was it CNN or was it like Washington Post? Maybe it was both of them. And so he sued them, won a bunch of money, but then they come to find out he was like pretty anti, what's the word, Semite, and actually was hanging out with Kanye West. Was thought to be an influence when he was saying all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the DEFCON 3 or 6 or whatever it was. So yeah, that guy's super suspect, and don't like him too much.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if this is. It's probably not even related then. That video.
Yeah, definitely not related at all. Yeah,
but
I didn't even know she interviewed him.
The question then, you were saying, what does she pay Auntie? Right.
Is her name Auntie?
I know who Auntie is. Yeah,
because she's still there, right? I mean, she's funny. I like when she chimes in. She helps her check the ladies from saying crazy stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I think she has a way of punking younger women that is entertaining and helpful.
Punking younger women. They will watch Pearly Things Tonight just after this video.
I feel like I've actually only saw that one Andrew Tate interview. That's my whole frame of reference was just that time. That's my whole experience with Auntie, I think.
So the things about people using extreme words like plantation is crazy. Like, people compare things to people to Hitler, compare to concentration camps, to plantations, to slavery, to all different kinds of extremes. And it's like, can you please stop and have some respect? Because it's more than likely, like, the poorest people in America, like, factually, even if they're panhandling on the street, make a lot more money than someone on a plantation would make. Like, that's really disrespectful to the people, to the ancestors, and to the people that unfortunately had to go through that. Like, you more than likely did not get paid as like a freaking someone living on a plantation, like a slave on a plantation. Like, it's. I feel like it's just a word used to be like it's like a hyperbolic word, but you're trying to use it in a serious way. Like, I don't know. It's just really annoying. Like, dog, like you probably got paid like low. You got paid like extremely unfair. But like, to use the word plantation, I think is really disrespectful to to people that actually had to go through that, which are obviously not alive today. But that extreme word is just ridiculous. But I mean, I don't know. I've never heard her say anything remotely discriminatory, racist, maybe sexist for sure. Whether or not some of that may be right, maybe it's some of it, maybe what people would consider sexist, but actually it's probably not. Some of it probably is actually true. But then I would say, yeah, maybe some stuff was actually sexist too. But never anything regarding race wise. So that's interesting. What are your thoughts?
No, it's helpful to hear, your perspective. I think I'm curious to see what plays out as far as the Black creators that are on her show and how they you made the point of it being so dramatic of language to use. It surely will grab the attention of the Black creators on her show, and then their family members or their friends or their contacts. So like in some way, shape, or form, like her current Black creator co-hosts that are with her will be thinking through and maybe, even microanalyzing how it's been with Pearl. You know what I'm saying? Like so
Yeah.
if that language seems to be purposeful, like, hey, that is purposefully trying to stir up and cause drama. And so, I mean, I'm just curious to see, does that mean, hey, like now forward, we don't see any of the black creators that have been on? Or is there new creators? And then, I'm just curious to see how the show navigates moving forward with this kind of going on in the background.
Yeah, because you still have your, auntie on there who's obviously black, and she hasn't made any statements or nothing. It kind of makes you look ridiculous. Like, we just had multiple black people, black hosts on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And
so,
which, like, the human tendency, I've seen this take place where everybody wants to be compensated appropriately. And sometimes we might inflate what's appropriate of our, again, I don't really know this guy. Do you know this guy? That guy?
It took me a second to remember him. It took me about 5 minutes, actually. I was like, oh, yeah, I do remember him. And he did make some good points.
Yeah. But, like, the idea, though, like, a percentage of the brand as far as you tuning in, like, you tuning in for him?
That's hard to say tune in. No, I almost forgot who he was. But he was entertaining. I remember him being entertaining.
Yeah, so let's say he's really good. He's really entertaining. But, like, he's not the showstopper, or what, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not the main.
I'm not clicking. Yeah.
He's not the main character. I'm not calling him an NPC, but he's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not the protagonist of the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's clearly Pearl. But so I think there's, for with our ego, we could think that we deserve more than maybe what is appropriate. So I don't know if you want to know a more for sure dollar amount or a larger percentage, but when you're not the main person, it's a weird request.
The other thing I thought of right now is the extreme level that you used, to bring your race into this. If it's, to me, I don't see no evidence of that. But for you just to use that because there's a certain amount of people, it doesn't matter what you say, as soon as you throw a race in it, they're going to be on your side. It's, again, you're using that to try and get your way to build momentum, to get people on your side. But think about the actual people that really do go through what you're saying that you're trying to portray. Like, now especially if that's not true, and you're just saying that to slander her because you're upset or because you think that will help you out, advantageous. It'll be give you some kind of advantageous argument to try and win in court, or with popular opinion, whatever. Now you're discrediting people that actually do go through that, or it makes people more like the sheep cried. What, the sheep cried wolf, I believe. All there's wolf coming, no actual wolf. And then when the actual wolf does come, the person's not interested anymore because they're seeing so many false allegations or things that just, didn't pan out to be true. So I think that's another, I think it's ultimately making himself look really bad.
Right. And even as you were saying that, what it made me think of is whatever payment arrangement that they had, he agreed to it. Like, whatever situation he was in.
He made it.
Right.
From the
Right. So, like, whatever they negotiated, ultimately, he agreed to it. Now, again, like, so I think about the Scottie Pippen situation where he agreed to the most, like, horrific low ball contract in NBA history for a superstar. Like, that. Yeah. Now, he signed that contract to agree for that pay, not knowing what his future ability and superstardom and reach would end up being. So, like, this idea that he's bitter about what he has been made, or he's bitter about the next offer, Like, and ultimately, like, so the bridge is burned with him and Pearl. Like, they're not. It doesn't seem like they're never going to be doing anything together. So then the language becomes not to motivate her to do anything with him, but now he's trying to. It's about the collateral damage. How much damage can I do on the way out to damage your credibility with, again, in the racial divide world that we live, the racially divided world that we live in, and with the other black co-hosts that already rock with Pearl.
Yeah. Yeah, but ultimately you got to think too, he's destroying himself from collaborating with someone else. Like, I don't want to work with someone, and potentially even someone else who's also, black, who may not want to work with him. Like, yeah, that's drama. Like, you seem to be doing the most, like people who, I mean, it's only one time from what I know or whatever, but, something happens with someone else, it could happen to you. People get those vibes, and he could be destroying other opportunities for himself. So it's always best to, I think, in the public eye, keep things professional. And even though you may strongly disagree, dislike, I think you keep that as much to yourself as possible. Not just for, for professionalism, but for your own sake, so that you can keep your name clean and not get your name involved in drama and altercations with people. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not in the altercation business, like Andrew Tate or something like that, that doesn't really feed you,
Right.
There's a specific lane of people that will actually help them altercations and arguments and being combative. That will help certain types of people. But that's a certain narrow, small percentage of people.
Yeah.
So I think the majority of people just try to stay clear of that. So
that's good. That's solid. It's a great take with the impact he has on potential opportunities to collaborate, negotiate, partner with other people. And I mean, unfortunately, I'm like, okay, so if he said this about Pearl, white woman, and then, like, does that damage, you know what I'm saying? Like, his potential to collaborate or negotiate with other white men and women who are, who, like, are you going to compare me to a plantation owner type person as well later on? Clearly you were willing to shoot that shot in this is again, like, you're willing to have Pearl catch those strays on the way out of that last thing. So you did it over there. What makes me think you won't do it over here? And like you said,
exactly.
People don't want that drama.
Exactly. I'm curious. Can I get your same background color?
Can you get it?
Let me see. Let's try here now. Ooh, it's kind of close.
Oh,
but I need a white light though. How do I go back to white?
So what do you work with over there? What there we go. But I took the blue away from the back.
Try to get it brighter. Oh, it's kind of faint. Does this look better? I feel like my eyes are popping. Ooh.
Look at that.
I like this one. I'm gonna keep it this way.
Well, I don't remember what it was like before. What was it before?
We're gonna make me do it all over again? I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. All right, my friend. Those are the big things I had. Anything else on your side?
I am blank this week, but I will for sure prepare for our next one. Some good stuff.
All ready. All right. Well, if you're tuning in, make sure you go over to the YouTube page, and subscribe over there, because over there is where we're going to get more of over there we'll be able to organize the playlist into the guests, the co-hosts that I have on. I'll be a lot more organized over on the YouTube side. So that's Derek D. Guajardo, Guajardo. But yeah, if you're listening here, you already know my name. So head over there, do the subscribe thing. We'd appreciate that. And other than that, Matt, appreciate you being on. Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. You can follow me on Instagram at Blessed Talks. I'm sorry I didn't ask you if I could do that, but
do it.
Ask for forgiveness later.
Already, brother. Well, appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.